Hey, what's up everyone, and welcome to today's video. Please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel if you haven't already, because this will help me out in growing the channel and being able to produce more videos like this one. This episode will guide you through the issues of Uncanny X-Men published in 1982. Issue 160. This issue opens up with a page where we see a figure with jewelry and long nails lurking through some kind of screen, watching Storm fighting her fellow X-Men with Illyana watching. After observing them for a bit, he finds out that they're not really fighting, but they're in an exercise to hone their abilities. We find out that the shadow figure had been looking around for Illyana. He lures her and tells her to tell no one. He's telling her she has a grand and glorious destiny in front of her, and for her to follow his voice to paradise. Kitty notices Illyana slipping away while they're in the middle of their exercise and yells out in Russian to come back. The former base of Magneto they've made their home is still somewhat of a mystery to them, since they haven't been there for that long, but Illyana seems to know exactly where to go. Kitty is amazed at how fast Illyana is, and she loses track of her. While she's lost in thought, thinking about how this place gives her the creeps and how she should get the others, she steps into a light circle on the floor. She can't move and disappears while she screams out for help. The X-Men are done with their exercise and Wolverine wants a beer. Colossus says that he'd prefer some iced tea, and Nightcrawler asks Storm if she's doing alright. She responds by saying that she's just tired, but she'll recover. Kurt says she's pushing herself too hard since it's been barely a day after that battle with Dracula. He suggests that she should take a shower, and she says that's a good idea. She thinks to herself how Kurt is right, that she should take it more easy, and how she's still somewhat under the influence of what had happened to her because of her interaction with Dracula. She tries to conjure up a rainstorm, Storm's preferred way of taking a shower, but lacks the concentration due to her thoughts about Dracula, the Professor, and Scott, who seems to not respond to their summons. Eventually she gets it done and asks if the others want to join her in the rain. Wolverine says it's a good idea, and Colossus asks if anyone has seen his little sister. Wolverine says he did, and that Kitty said something about following her, but that was a while ago. Kurt once again mentions how he dislikes the place, and Storm takes notice of this. She tells Wolverine to scout the area and see if he can find the girls, and tells Kurt and Piotr to go along with him. Wolverine easily tracks him to the temple Kitty followed Illyana in, and Wolverine asks if anyone has ever been here before. No one has, and Storm notices how it's totally dark apart from flashing circles of light. She yells out for Kitty and Illyana, but Wolverine tells her it's no use, since his senses tell him it's been a while since the girls were here, and that they are now the only ones there. At that moment they get surprised by those flashing circles of light appearing underneath them, and they disappear. We see Kitty picking herself up from the floor wherever she is, and we see a figure appearing behind her. She looks around and is amazed, yet disgusted by the surroundings. As she shouts out for Illyana, we see Nightcrawler asking her if she's looking for someone. This scares Kitty at first, but she gives him a hug, telling him how glad she is to see him. Kitty then yells out, asking Kurt how he dares touching her like that, and she faces with Kurt's hand passing through her chest. Kurt responds by saying that he was merely giving her the opportunity to prove how glad she was to see him. We then see how this Kurt is not the Kurt Kitty is used to. Kitty runs away and tries to convince herself that this isn't real. She trips over something lying on the floor and falls right in front of the figure who introduces himself as Belasco. We then see Colossus and Storm, who apparently have ended up together, exploring the hallways of the place they were transported to. They are not sure if they're still on the island or not. Piotr wonders if this is an accident or if his little sister had been abducted. Colossus finds an armlet and gives it to Storm, who examines it. It's made of pure silver and carved with intricate runes. She's never seen it before, yet it feels strangely familiar. She clings it onto her upper arm and tells Colossus that she wishes she had answers for him. Colossus tells her he's terribly afraid for his little sister, and she tells him not to despair and that they will bring Illyana home, safe and sound. Storm gets attacked at that moment by something that seems to only consist of tentacles. It feels like it's tearing her apart, and the monster skin exudes some kind of acid that burns through her costume and also her skin. She yells out to Colossus, who then tries to rescue her, but he steps on one of those circles of light and disappears. Storm sees this and figures she's as good as dead, but notices how her body seems to be transforming into a mixture of her teammates' features. Colossus' metal skin keeps her safe from the acid, Wolverine's claws cut her free, Nightcrawler's agility moves her out of harm's way, while her own powers sweep her to safety. In the next scene, we see Belasco and the distorted Nightcrawler holding Kitty and Illyana captive. Kitty has been put in some kind of crystal that keeps her from using her powers. Kitty sees Nightcrawler, asking Illyana if she wants to play with him, and Belasco shoots at him with some kind of blast. He tells him he needs to be gone and to know his place, as Belasco's servant. Belasco then assures Kitty that this is indeed the Nightcrawler she knows, yet reshaped in the image of his true Lord Belasco. He introduces himself further as the chief disciple of the Elder Ones, elder gods who seek to invade and conquer this plane of reality. He also retells how he tried opening the gateway between both dimensions before, but was defeated, and as a punishment was banished to the interdimensional limbo. He tells Kitty that he plans on using her and Illyana as a means to both liberate himself from his imprisonment, but also to have the Dark Ones triumph. But before all this, he needs to ensure that Kitty's fellow X-Men meet the end they deserve. He summons his henchman Sim, right next to the body Kitty had tripped over earlier. Sim asks Belasco what had happened to the midget, because last Sim saw him, he still had meat covering his adamantium bones. He mentions how he thinks it's too bad, since he wanted to kill Wolverine himself. He then breaks off one of Wolverine's claws and uses it as a toothpick and asks Belasco what he wants, who he wants killed. Belasco responds by telling Sim how he should be ashamed of himself and asks him how he has no respect for the dead. He then asks Kitty if the sight of Wolverine's dead body distresses her and asks her if she wants to take a good look for herself. He casts a spell towards Kitty, who can only scream on the inside, and pulls out Kitty's skeleton from her trapped physical body. He has her skeleton stand in front of her and wave at her, just to sadistically make fun of her. He then tells her that the Eldritch Crystal and his magics are the only reason she's still alive to experience this traumatizing event. He then gives Illyana a necklace, as a token of his love, and tells her that once she's grown into a woman and learned the arcane arts, and all 5 bloodstones are in place in the necklace, she will ascend to the glorious destiny as promised before. All this is being watched by Nightcrawler, the real one, as he wonders how all this is possible, seeing his doppelganger Wolverine reduced to bones, Kitty imprisoned, and Illyana's apparent sacrifice, and whether he's fallen headlong into hell. He also wonders what has happened to Storm and Colossus, and swears that it doesn't matter because his friends will be avenged. On the next page we see Storm wake up, as if from a nightmare. She remembers what had happened before and is surprised to find her body is restored to its normal self, and asks herself what could have been responsible for the changes. She takes a look at the surroundings she woke up in and concludes it's a beautiful yet hauntingly familiar place. Just like the armlet Piotr found. She wonders if he's doing alright. Having woken up naked, she wants to take a dive in the pool right there before she wants to put her clothes on. When she lifts herself up out of the water, she introduces herself and asks if someone is around. She finds out her costume is ruined from the creature's attack and finds a pair of other clothes, including an amulet, in a cabinet and figures her savior is a woman and she puts it on. Thinking about how right it feels around her body, she wonders if her savior meant for her to have it, along with the amulet as some kind of weapon. She thanks the person as if it is a friend and leaves. We then see a shrouded figure thinking to itself how they will meet again and how she will help save the X-Men, but if it takes her to sacrifice them to destroy Belasco, she will. In the next panel, we see the evil Nightcrawler being shouted at by the Kurt we know, telling him to face him. While they attack one another, the evil Kurt retells what had happened to him, how he came here to save Illyana and Kitty, and how he saw his friends get slaughtered, how he was wounded himself near death, and Belasco spared him, healed him, and showed him the glory of evil. During their fight, which is being fought with primordial brutality, they teleport away, both at the same time. We then see Belasco scolding Nightcrawler that he did not summon him, but Nightcrawler tells him that he brings news to his lord, how he was attacked by an X-Men, he killed him, and asks if he did not serve his master well. Belasco tells him he probably did, but issues a threat to the demon to be careful because Belasco already possesses his soul, and if he tempts fate again, he'll have his heart as well. Next we follow Wolverine making his way through the tunnels. He's finding trails of his friends, but they are incredibly old and it doesn't make sense to him. He runs into the corpse of his friend Colossus hanging on the wall. Colossus just escaped in, but his remains look ancient to Logan. Colossus' looks, his face and his hair tell Wolverine that Colossus was an old man when he died here. But it certainly is his friend Piotr hanging there, not a fake or a trick. Wolverine wonders how this can be as he's being attacked, grabbed by a huge hand. It's Sim's hand and he rips Wolverine's shirt off while he smashes him into the walls. He tells Wolverine that Colossus hanging there is his handiwork, and how he's heard Wolverine himself is a pretty little rough and tough one. Sim slams Wolverine at the back of his head as he tries to attack Sim, and is about to stomp on him, when a teleportation circle appears and teleports Wolverine away, just in time. Sim comments on how those things are annoying and how they appear out of nowhere and transport bodies through time and space, how Wolverine could now practically be anywhere and at any time. Sim is then approached by someone from behind. It's the Colossus we know telling Sim to yield or suffer the consequences. Sim tells Colossus his bluff won't win him the battle, and he takes the adamantium claw of Wolverine's corpse, which he had been using as a toothpick, out of his pants and throws it at Colossus. It pierces right through Colossus' organic steel skin. They end up in a hand-to-hand combat, in which Colossus seems to get overpowered by Sim's speed and brute strength. Colossus has to try and find a way to use Sim's strength against him, just like Cyclops had trained him to. But Sim tightens his grip around Colossus' head and neck. He lifts Colossus up in the air, and as he does, he gets stabbed in the rear end by Wolverine, who seems to have returned. Wolverine does what he does best and starts hacking and slashing into Sim. But it hardly hurts or damages Sim, and he picks Logan up in the air by his limbs. He then gets kicked from behind in the back by Colossus, right into one of those light circles on the floor. Wolverine and Colossus are happy they found one another, and Wolverine tells Piotr that it wasn't luck, but the magic of a woman who brought him back to where Colossus and Sim were. Logan and the woman both think about how he's recognized her. She uses her magic and another teleportation circle appears underneath Colossus and Wolverine, and they get teleported right in front of Belasco and his pet Nightcrawler and Kitty trapped inside the crystal with the skeleton next to her. The skeleton waves at Piotr and Logan. Belasco greets them and tells them he has met them now for the first and final time. Nightcrawler then attacks Belasco. Apparently it was the good Kurt, posing as the evil one. Storm, who has just arrived, attacks as well with the lightning bolt, and Belasco acknowledges that they have him at a disadvantage right now, and he retreats. Kurt tells the other X-Men all that he has seen and what Kitty's status is. Storm, being disgusted with this, is about to lift herself up with wind-controlling powers to chase Belasco to make him pay for what he's done. Surprisingly, the wind turns and stops her in mid-flight. This is being done by the shrouded woman who had been helping them from the shadows. She tells Storm to not pursue Belasco because she has been there, making that same decision in the past, and how her friends, the rest of the X-Men, followed her and they died. How that choice in the past had damned her, and how she will not allow that to happen again. Kurt analyzes the situation about how Belasco told him they were in a magical limbo where none of the rules of time and space apply. How they can be both old and young, alive and dead, good and evil, as they have all experienced in the past couple of hours. Aurora then tells Kurt to spare her the philosophical talk and help her find a way to save Kitty instead. The older version of Storm chimes in, saying how she thinks she can be of assistance. As she grew older and her ability to control the elements started dwindling, she turned to her other half, namely sorcery. Belasco had allowed this because he figured Storm's study of the black arts would corrupt her, just like they had Nightcrawler. The other Storm starts using her magic to merge both Kitty's skeleton with the rest of her body and soul, which are trapped inside the crystal. A process which will be painful to Kitty, and she releases her from her entrapment. Kitty thanks Storm for saving her, and she's shocked to find out how old she is. She does not understand this. At this time, Sim appears from another light circle, and Wolverine deals with him properly this time around, in mere seconds. He says that they better leave because he doesn't feel like having to fight Sim once more, and more are likely to come and follow them. The elder Storm tells him how to get back home, to use the amulet Storm took, which can create a mystical gate back to the island they came from. The younger Storm asks what will happen to the older one and if she won't come along. But the elder one responds by saying that she has nothing to return to. All her friends are dead and someone needs to keep Belasco in check to make sure he doesn't find another exit out of limbo. As they open the mystic gate, Belasco attacks with a horde of demons to try and gain access through the gate. The X-Men are amazed at the magical powers wielded by the Elder Storm, keeping the horde of demons at bay while they prepare for their return home. Kitty makes a jokingly comment and Wolverine responds a bit more seriously. Belasco then manages to slip by the Elder Storm and grab a hold of young Illyana, pulls her half out of the gateway and tells Storm to abort the spell, or tear young Illyana apart limb from limb. Colossus looks shocked and worried about his little sister, and Kitty manages to grab a hold of Illyana's other arm. Illyana screams out in pain to her older brother to please help her. On the X-Men side of the mystical portal, they've already returned back on Earth, in their own dimension on the island, with Kitty's arm still through the portal to the other side. Colossus is telling Kitty to pull Illyana through because the portal is starting to close. Kitty responds by saying she's trying, but she's lost her grip. She can't feel anything and she shouts she's lost her. She keeps grabbing and feeling around, and suddenly she feels her again, but Belasco's pulling just as hard. She tells her teammates to help her as hard as they can, because she's not strong enough by herself, all of them together. They manage to pull Illyana through in the end. Illyana, wearing totally different clothes from the moments before, and looking about twice her age, asks if she's really seeing her brother in front of her. Later on the island, the X-Men talk about what had happened, and how Moira has examined the kid. It really is Illyana, and she's perfectly healthy, normal, 13-year-old girl. Turned 7 years older in the few seconds Kitty lost her grip. Colossus is lost at what he should do and how he can't face their parents to tell them what has happened. Storm says it's probably hard for Peter, but that he should think about how Illyana must be feeling right now. Colossus responds by saying that's all he's been doing, and how he sometimes wishes he had never heard of Charles Xavier and his X-Men. Colossus checks up on his little sister and thinks how unfair and how cruel it is, since a childhood should be a happy time and not spent in limbo for 7 years. They don't know yet if she had spent those years with Belasco or with Storm. They don't know what she's seen and endured. He doesn't even know whether to welcome his sister, comfort her, love her, or fear her. As he enters Illyana's bedroom, she jumps up from her sleep and Piotr tells her to not be afraid. Illyana tells him that she feared he had forgotten about her, that he hated her, and how she's missed him all those years. She keeps talking to her big brother until she passes out. He takes a seat next to her and gets some sleep himself, but close by, to protect her if the need arises. We then zoom in on Illyana's ancient bloodstone medallion, her special talisman she's had ever since being a young child. A gift from someone who said he loved her. The medallion opens and we see 3 bloodstones already in place, while deep in Illyana's mind, a voice is heard, echoing the exact words Belasco had said to her. Thank you for watching this episode.